sit on it, it is going to, and they have decided to make school safety a focus. I think that makes sense. I think it's just a minor tweak to that.
I guess one of my questions is going back to the school affairs committee, like when that became a committee for Jones and whether that was like born out of necessity during a time when maybe hiring was more challenging. Because aside from me intentionally bringing someone from the LSC last year onto our hiring committee for our AP roles and having LSC participation there, the LSC in our school and really by and large in most schools is not a part of the hiring process, especially not for your day-to-day stuff like teachers and CCAs and stuff.
I think that's why I thought the school affairs committee is more like related to DEI, more like overall. But I get what you're saying. It's like the culture and climate.
Well, the culture and climate is safety.
Well, it's not
Culture and
just
climate,
safety.
it should also be DEI. It
Cul-
should be the
culture and-
culture of the school.
Culture and climate is more expansive than just safety, but school safety is a component of the culture and climate.
My question is, if we're the local school council and the climate and committee, culture and climate committee is just like a Jones, standalone, thing for people to join. How are we as the local school council telling them to focus on security?
I don't think it would necessarily be the LSC telling the culture and climate team to focus on security because security and discipline are part of what culture and climate looks at and does. So for a reference point, like the 3 sitting members who don't go anywhere are AP Dixon, who's over safety and security and discipline, Dean Ray, and our head of security, Mr. Jackson.
Okay, so it's just kind of built into that already.
Correct.
And the upside, I think, is then we get eyes and ears into the space, into those discussions, and can share out with others at these meetings and then other venues. I think there's value. I think that's good. I do think it's a good question, though, as to whether the school affairs committee serves a purpose. I don't even know that it met at all in the last LSC. It didn't that I was aware of.
No,
Yeah,
I
and that-
promise it didn't because I'm supposed to sit on it and.
Yeah, it says you're a member, the principal.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the committees kind of relaxed, I guess, because we went through the whole process of principal selection, and so
I was
we're all
gonna
just
say, I think everybody
we were all
tapped
kind of gassed, and it
themselves
was like,
out with
okay,
the hiring process.
Which is fair. That was a lot.
that's kind of how that.
What have you been previously?
I was gonna say back in the day, was it used for?
We were meeting on a fairly regular. Well,
Like
which
prior
one was
to the
it?
chaos.
Yeah, the building
Maybe that's for the.
building affairs kind of met every other month, like they're on. But what was the other one?
You mean building and grounds?
Building and grounds. And there was another one that the member that was leading it stepped down, so, yeah. So kind of, it was difficult because it was difficult to get participation in the committees, so.
Do you remember the degree to which the school affairs committee was involved in?
Not much,
Okay.
not much.
I mean, school affairs trying to do the principal, so if it's someone hiring, does that mean it's supposed to be as needed if it's needed?
That's the work of the LSC period. You guys are the
Right,
hiring committee.
right.
Yeah,
right.
so that you don't need a special committee.
I think it was just kind of like, I mean, we keep talking about different incidents over these last few meetings. Well, I mean, you guys have only been in the last 2, but I think it was more along those lines, like different issues that come up to kind of.
The security concerns? Or
No,
I think more like DEI, right? Like about
Oh,
different things,
yeah,
like that's sort of the culture piece.
yeah, like what was, there was the rescheduling of the senior day.
Yeah.
So those sorts of things is what I mean,
So does,
or the homecoming.
Right.
so we're not bound to any of these committees, obviously, so
No.
does this need to exist?
I think the budget committee
The
is
budget.
the only one that needs to, and the PPLC.
But student affairs, that's not student report, student affairs is something separate.
I mean, it's separate from the student report, but it typically is like the committee that the students sit on because they're largely bringing voice to that committee in terms of things that are up for discussion and aren't like imminent concerns of the student body.
I just wonder, when can some of these.
I mean, we could always have them and then kind of like the last time, if there aren't any issues, then.
This is true. Or, I mean, the other.
Because it's easier to do
I
that
just think
than
we should
try
have
to,
committees and
come
like
in and-
understand what they're for.
Because we can always, and we can form
Right.
ad hoc
Like, if it's a really
committees
hard
as we,
hiring,
you know,
right.
if we would like, we can put committees in place. You know, if something comes up and we need to address it, these are standing committees. We're kind of saying we're gonna do stuff with them, but we don't, I mean, we don't have to. We can leave
I
it
just
in
wonder
there.
if like the student affairs committee, is that something where you have some of these DEI concerns? You know, it's not security focused, but just culture.
I think it was like a student voice. It meant to be kind of along the lines of student voice, which we didn't have previously, but I understand that it's developing now. Is that right?
We have a student voice committee.
Yeah. So we didn't have that before.
So maybe to help clarify, I don't know, this may be a long list. What are the committees the school has? Right, like there's a student voice committee, there's culture and climate committee.
Student government. We have a new school celebrations team that's starting this year. We have the PPC, PPLC, which are obviously more stringent in terms of their membership. We have the ILT, which is going to be composed of department chairs. We have the personalized learning team, which is going to be more of an opt-in model, similar to what last year's ILT looked like, which will be focused on personalized learning. And now we're saying personalized learning because now they're not saying CBE anymore. So yay, acronym soup.
Okay, I was like, I don't know, I didn't know what that meant before, and I don't know what it means now. I guess I await some PD.
Basically, the work that we've been doing more in line with differentiation and individualized support for students academically.
Is this similar to like MTSS committee or replacing?
So MTSS is separate.
Okay.
Personalized learning is more about what happens in every classroom. And while MTSS does have a focus on tier 1 instruction, what the newly branded student support team is focused on is creating robust plans to ensure that students are holistically supported.
And do you think there's any role in the school affairs committee to do like parent engagement or any of those things for people who couldn't come to an LSC?
You
I guess I'm
said for
just,
student school affairs?
no, school affairs. I don't know.
I
Maybe
wonder
not,
if
there's already
maybe
so many
it's-
other parent groups.
and-
I don't know. I thought it was something in every single LSC. I didn't know, but it's just a Jones thing that never met. So I looked at
I
it
think
as
it's-
like how it works everywhere, but I have no idea.
I'm guessing it's common, just not, I don't think it's unique to Jones.
Oh, okay. So other LSCs have a school affairs committee.
It just feels weird that it's
I'm
not
guessing.
dedicated to hiring.
Yeah.
No, the first sentence is weird.
I mean, maybe it makes more sense for that to be like a parent affairs committee that has representation from at least one of the parent reps on the LSE, someone from Friends of Jones, someone from the booster. And like maybe someone is spending some time scouring that wonderful Facebook page to see what is coming up and then having discussions in the committee and then bringing that to the committee. Because I will not touch that Facebook page with a 20-foot pole.
This is the perfect committee for me. You want all your feedback from social media. I can be your person.
Social media committee. Social media feedback
Well, I
committee.
think that sounds like a valid.
Oops, sorry.
So like parent
Parent
affairs.
affairs. Yeah, you put that in
Parent
parent
affairs.
affairs.
School
Those
affairs.
Yeah, parent concerns /
I feel like
affairs.
Slash, we're gonna turn you into our PR machine.
No, but I also think it's interesting because just listening to this, because the booster thing is relatively new and I understand where it's coming from and why. But it does seem like there's some potential risk for the booster and Jones, like Friends of Jones and boosters to be it sort of.
Well, they've been meeting.
They've been collaborating.
Yeah, to
Okay.
try to head that off
Good.
specifically. But I do see value potentially in like, I personally see more value in having like a parent affairs committee that intentionally pulls stakeholders from these various groups.
Right.
And
As
actually
opposed to
trying to
them to bring
listen versus
Yeah.
just reacting.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's
So,
so,
so run it, creating a description of that within here to
Yeah.
replace school affairs.
and that would replace school affairs, yeah, I think that makes sense.
So we'll keep school culture, we're just gonna say that that's a school committee that we want someone from the LSC to sit on.
Correct. I'll clarify that when I update it. Okay.
And then what, so the only other,
So you'll write.
Yes, I'll
Okay.
take care of the updates to send back to the group in the same document.
And then is there consensus amongst the LSC on how you want those reports to come through? So from culture and climate, do you want that information to come from the LSC meeting sitting on culture and climate? Or do you want me to report out what's going on in culture and climate during my principal report?
I feel like you have enough to
LSC
report.
members do it. Oh.
No, I
I think
You're
you were
saying
saying the same thing.
Oh, okay.
Let the LSC member report,
Yes.
because she already has a lot.
That's what I was just thinking, the same thing, perfect.
So LSC member will do that report. Okay, great.
Do we know who's on that?
We don't have an LSC member yet who has signed on to be on it.
So, and that was kind of the next step, because we're not gonna, since we got edits to make, we're not gonna approve the bylaws at this meeting. We'll make the edits, circulate, hopefully approve them next time we get together. But we can start assigning people to these committees, because some of them, like the budget committee, for instance, needs to start meeting, should start meeting next month. And others can get off the ground too.
Can we just make sure we get our committee set? So I think, I saw a question about the student affairs. Committee.
Yep.
What, if that's needed, if you already have student voice, is that replaced or?
Are you on student voice?
I don't touch
It's
student
on
voice.
SGA.
No.
To me, student voice is a
But you're
SGA
SGA.
duplicate. That, well, at least last year, I wasn't a fan personally. But
So
And-
in all fairness, I think part of that was because SVC was still kind of getting
Yeah.
off the ground. But from what I understand, from what historically has been done, SGA is much more of like an activity planning body
Mhm.
where you guys are fielding feedback from your peers, but much more around things like homecoming, prom, like spirit weeks, and like putting on programming to engage your peers. Whereas I think SVC is meant to more be sort of a sounding board for the student body. Like students have concerns and are upset about things. They're going to SVC to kind of voice those, and the SVC is sort of the liaison between the student body and admin to sort of share that out. Whereas you guys are the liaison between the student body and admin to do planning.
I just know that there's been a few attempted SVCs that have been interesting. I'm currently in a Google Classroom with like 5 people, and I don't think even the real one, I'll be honest. But I don't know how much the student affairs committee is really needed.
Would the student affairs committee be like coordinating with the SBC?
So I think if we decide that the student affairs committee should be a standing committee, I think it would make sense for you guys to maybe connect with the student voice committee and ask that at least one of their members sit on your committee.
On the same note, I think, again, through the buzzings of what I've heard as well, is I feel like the SBC, the student, I call it student
SGA.
government, the SGA, they probably need a committee with school affairs all together, or all 3 heads of them sit together to talk about student affairs, because I feel like they're not getting they're feeling like their voices or their roles are being pulled, and I think it'd be nice to have them sit together and then present it all together, so.
And a value to keeping a student affairs committee in like our bylaws is that it's a place where students can bring like concerns, not just to admin, but like to this group, to LSC, which I think is useful. Like, I'd like to hear your concerns directly.
I mean, that's the goal of the LSC, right, is to provide checks and balances to administration and all that.
Would one of you be willing to reach out to Ms. Lee and ask her to sort of disseminate that to whomever is sitting on the SBC? Because last year I really only talked to Emmett.
Yeah, I'd be
I'm
willing to do
looking
that.
directly at you, but I'm really directing that at all 3 of you. Sorry.
I can talk to Miss Lee. I was working with her over the summer.
Okay.
So I know her
Were you
well.
gonna say something else?
Yeah, if Michael didn't want to do it, I would be willing to do it because I had her a few years ago, but Michael would still do it.
You guys can go together.
Yeah.
So student affairs is staying.
So it sounds like that is really just bringing those various student groups together.
And then reaching those student groups' opinions to the local school council.
I mean, it should be the avenue for raising student concerns. If there's things that the student body wants heard, that's independent of any of the other groups.
I think raising student concerns, but also like giving an opportunity for student leadership from across the school to maybe come together and have discussions. I think it actually might even be valuable for you guys to consider inviting on leadership from like our student affinity groups. So that you're also hearing from various segments of our student populations who like strongly represent like more homogeneous populations of students who may have similar concerns that like may not be mirrored in other areas of the school.
Now, the one thing is though, at least the way Miss Ricketts explained it to me last year, was we would need someone else that's not a student rep to be like the chairperson for that committee. To handle like if there's any potential FOIA, which I doubt there ever will be, or the Open Meetings Act. I know she brought that up and as a concern as to why a student shouldn't be the chairperson.
Yeah, I do vaguely recall that
Right here it
conversation,
says-
and that's
Yeah.
correct, because we wouldn't want to subject any of you guys to having to respond to a FOIA request.
Yeah, it's funny because it says
The
the chair
bylaws.
meeting a student policy.
Yeah.
meeting.
That have to be changed.
I mean, that is possible that could happen. It's also very unlikely that anybody would bring a FOIA request to a student affairs committee. I just don't know how likely that would be. And if it did happen.
It's unlikely, we would probably
we
just
could-
get FOIA'd as an LSC.
Yeah, and we could always like assist. It's not like just because we don't sit on the committee doesn't mean we can't help with a FOIA request or an Open Meetings Act issue. So I think this committee operates most effectively if there are not adults like hovering around and monitoring the conversation, probably. You guys might feel differently, but I think
I do
that can
tend to agree
stifle
with that. I
that.
don't want you guys to feel like an adult is like moderating the content of your conversations.
I mean, what do you guys feel more comfortable with?
But if you'd rather have somebody like overseeing and running and that sort of stuff, that's
I mean,
fine
right
too.
now it's open to everyone's parents,
Right.
staff,
Yeah, I see that.
community members. It's kind of like, everybody come together and talk about it.
I mean, I think, so technically as an LSC committee, it is open to all members of the LSC.
Right.
But right now, I think we're maybe re-envisioning what it can look like.
Right.
I mean, I like what you said about having the different affinity groups represented, because then it could be like a, student version of DEI.
Because it's supposed to be to ensure a safe, supportive, equitable, and secure.
But then
School
like,
environment.
again, as a local school council, we can't say, hey, let's bring on the affinity groups into this. Like, we can't write that into the bylaws.
No, you can only
Exactly.
invite
You can only
them,
invite
you
them.
can't make them
Right.
attend. but-
Yeah, you just say it's open too,
Exactly.
right? But maybe just list those things out versus just students.
And I think part of it too, yes, we could write that all into the bylaws, but there's also some agency on the people running the committee to determine what your vision is for it, how you'd like that to look too. So I think, I think that's a good idea, but you guys should decide like what you want it to look like as well.
You guys want to like present at the next meeting if you think there should be an adult LSC member on it or not?
Okay, my opinion is that I think there should be an adult LSC member on that, and I'm strong on that. Because I know for at least me and Max, we're gonna be applying to college this year. I'm already on several different clubs and I'm busy enough that I would not be wanting to run my own, or just speaking for myself, I would not want to be the chairperson of anything. And that's my opinion. I don't know if Heidi or Max has a different opinion.
I mean, what does the chairperson really do? Like, what are the responsibilities?
It would be setting the agenda mostly, which I actually think should not happen from an adult. I think you guys should be setting the agenda for your conversations and committee meetings and what you guys want to discuss. I can see the value in having an adult chairperson to respond to potential FOIA inquiries and stuff like that. But again, like, one of the adult members can always step in and support you if we ever found ourselves in that position.
And we will, yeah.
Could we, I mean, we could structure it as like there's an adult co-chair, like a student and adult co-chair. It's like I'd be willing to help whoever wants to run in charge, like
Yeah.
Ms. Nolan said, like you guys should set the agenda, but if you need help like finding a room and
And
Wrangling folks.
I'd be happy to have a conversation in front of Mr. Eck.
well, and like honestly, right, if I'm there, like you're gonna need supervision in the meeting anyway, so like there's gonna be an adult there. And if you want the adults to like step out the door and you guys can curse at us all you want, like that's fine. Open Meetings Act though.
Does that feel better?
I like that.
Awesome.
Done. All right, so it sounds like then we kind of got our committees set. We're gonna build out some of the nuances in the bylaws and vote on them next time. I don't know if people have ideas of what committees they would like to serve on. We don't necessarily have to decide that all today, but if you have committees that you're interested in working with, it would be helpful because then we can start to get some of these committees moving and actually functioning ahead of the next meeting.
I auto sit on PPLC and budget.
All right.
I think every committee is supposed to have at least 3 members.
Yep. I mean, PPLC is pretty easy. You're done. Yeah. That's good. Student affairs, I assume all 3 of our students will participate in that one. So that one is, and then.
Yeah, I'll be your co
Sounds good.
whatever Eagle mentor.
Is there one of you that's interested in stepping up as the student co-chair?
I mean, if you guys are busy, I can do it.
Yeah, that'd be great, thank you.
Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you for that. Budget. This is a fun one. I won't lie.
You're selling it super hard.
Yeah. So if anybody's interested.
And then technically Troy sits on it.
So are you saying budget is just kind of like a bunch of minutia, or it's like challenging because like the budget is hard to balance?
It's not that it's hard to balance, but there's a lot
The
of
balancing
different.
is mostly my job. You guys are just kind of scouring through all of the outgoing spending and trying to make sense of all the spending and working with me and Troy to understand like what we're spending money on. But then also collaborating in terms of like, kind of like the school's strategic vision around where we're moving both instructionally and culturally, and trying to make sure that the budgeting decisions we're making are consistently aligned with the goals that we've outlined for the school. Does that sound?
That sounds right. And then I think also too, like, just trying to make sure that we're emptying out the accounts that are gonna get swept. I know that for the
Yeah.
last like 3 months of the year is always, we're looking at the accounts that are gonna be swept and like, how can we spend this money, with stuff we need, not just to spend it, but like, before it gets swept back to the district.
That we can ask what swept meant. So swept means CPS.
They
will
take the
it
money
back.
Take the money.
They take it.
Oh,
And there's
okay.
only some
Maybe
buckets
don't.
roll over to the next year, but some don't. And so you wanna spend as much of those as you can.
I'm happy to help with that, Sam, if you want help with that.
That would be great. All right, and I'm planning to serve on that one as well, so. Anybody's welcome, so don't feel limited just because you didn't say you wanted to do it today. Well,
We could
everybody's
designate the people who aren't here.
welcome. Exactly.
Melissa.
I'll just assign Melissa this one too. And Adam and Melissa actually did tell me some committees they were interested in, and I'll make sure to kind of slot them in as I'll look back at my notes on that. The Parent Affairs Committee, sounds like maybe we have our.
We might have our chair.
Yeah.
I finally understand my role in that.
Yeah.
Angry parents, come my way.
All right. Angry Parents Chair. Anybody else for that committee interested in being a part of that one?
And Ms. Nolan, it seems like for that, we probably should include the Bilingual Family Association too.
I think if we can, I think that would make sense.
I don't know if it'd be right if we were on it.
And if there's any other parent affiliation groups.
Yeah, enough.
Tap
So there'll be
into-
FOJ, the Booster, the BAT.
I mean, I see it enough on my daughter's
No,
pages.
Oh, the
In
BAT,
different
the
schools
BAC.
they've been
Yeah, I got those. I didn't know if there were any others.
We got our PPLC is like our.
Because we don't have.
Yeah,
like,
we have
a-
enough of that.
Like, some other schools
Yeah, you're
have like a Black Families Association or Muslim Association. We don't have any of those.
Not for parents, no.
I'm happy to join Sarah on that one.
Perfect. Anybody else for current affairs? Going once? Maybe, I don't know what, we don't have to necessarily call it that either. We can think about whether there's a better name for that.
I like calling it Fair and Affairs. Gives the parents a voice.
Yeah, but I know sometimes, yeah, it depends. Not all of our guardians are parents, so
Could say caregivers.
family engagement, family, whatever.
Family.
Family affairs.
I think most are parents, but yeah.
Caregivers?
So the BAC parent from last year, and I don't know whether she intends to carry on this role this year, is Yvonne Ruiz Soberanis.
That's right.
And then there's her
This is like an eyesight test.
Juice, DI@live.com.
Is that your reading glasses? There we go. Got it. All right. So Sarah, I'll leave it to you then to invite the FOJ, BAC, the athletics booster, and
Someone else send me their names.
absolutely. They'll be in the, we can put the minutes, but yeah, we can also send them their way too. Building and grounds is the next one.
Yeah, I'm happy to.
I can be on it as much as possible.
Perfect.
I have a couple of years' experience.
Sounds good.
And then I don't want to sign up for another committee, but if you need anything from me, I'll be over operations this year, so I'm happy to be like a liaison as needed.
Okay. And then is there anybody interested in being the LSC rep? I guess, when does school culture and climate meet? Before anybody signs
I
up?
don't, it'll be during the school day, no, I take that back, it'll probably be after school. But I don't know exactly when it's gonna be yet, I would have to check in with VP Dixon on that.
Does after school usually mean kind of like what we do for budget, where it's like 3:15 to like,
Probably like
4:30.
3:30 to 4:30 or 3:30 to 5, yeah.
so I don't know if that boxes, I'm sure that boxes people out in some regard.
Is that once a month?
It'll probably be every 2 weeks. And I have to check back in with VP Dixon.
So we don't have to decide on that one necessarily, people can think about it. I don't know what our community rep schedules are like too, but probably one that does make more sense for a parent, so, I think.
Yeah, I would love to do it, but I don't think I can commit to every 2 weeks during the school day.
What day of the week is it? That would also be helpful.
Don't know yet.
Okay.
Maybe when you know what the schedule is.
Yeah, we'll wait, maybe we'll see who's available when it gets scheduled.
Is it like a kind of a Zoom meeting kind of thing, or do you could be here in person?
It would probably be in person, but depending on the content of the meeting, they may be able to accept virtual participation. The only other thing that I can think of is we still have an ESP, like a non-teaching staff position open on the LSC. So if we were, I don't know, by chance able to get a school security officer in for that position,
Oh, yeah.
that might be a natural person who could sit on the team.
Maybe that's mandated for replaces Marge.
We'll make sure that that's part of our.
It's on posting, yeah.
Sure you don't want to join that non-existent school affairs committee, Frank?
I've got a few other things. So.
What?
That's a good idea though, so, and we do have that open, so that is,
And that's something that I think you and I
yeah,
can
we
talk
can
about.
talk about how to
Yeah.
fill that, but that would be a good idea. in terms of-
You can also ask Melissa too.
Yeah, just a few other things.
Oh, yeah, she might be able to pop in on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if she said that she's teaching here or in other places.
I'm not 100% sure whether she's going to be here or not yet.
So for all these different committees, if they're having further meetings, they need to be open meetings, right?
They do, yeah, they need to be open meetings, need to take minutes.
So school culture and climate is not an LSC.
That's not
No,
ours,
no,
so that is-
no, I'm just talking about,
Got it, LSC.
For the LSC.
LSC,
committees, they have to be open.
right, yeah. So, and then do you need to, can you have them like remote meetings? Like, do you have to
doesn't have to be here, but it does need to be in person, I believe.
And can't be on Zoom?
We were doing them on Zoom.
Can we do Zoom?
Yeah, we were.
I know the budget committee last year, you could request.
I
We
that
could,
was
but
just
we
a
would start the
video.
meeting in person, and then we would vote to allow virtual attendance once we had established, like, and open the meeting. That, I think Zoom will probably fine. I don't think anybody's gonna be tracking anybody down to complain about the Zoom meetings, committees. I would
Yeah, it
doubt.
just seemed like the budget committee, you had to request, access, whatever, a day ahead of it, which
So, yeah, so but preparing an agenda, keeping minutes, approval of those minutes happens in the committee, so it doesn't have, you don't have to bring them back here, that all happens.
Okay.
It's kind of, you treat it as its own.
you're just reporting
separate
out, like.
Yeah.
here's what we've been doing.
Exactly. So we'll have a place for committees to report out, and you all can determine how often you meet. It doesn't, budget meets monthly. It's usually the Monday before these meetings. But other groups, yeah, you all can decide together how often the cadence of meetings, when it's gonna happen. Yeah, kind of as you see that. Any other committee-related questions? Otherwise, we'll move forward, so I want to get us out of the time.
I apologize, I need to step away. I have
Yeah.
members of the Board of Ed trying to get into our building to get their cars. I mean, y'all are 3 hours late. They left at 4. It's not, it's more like the support staff.
Okay, well, then we'll give them the go.
Sam, just before you move
Yeah.
on, Sarah had made a comment in the document, which I think is a good one,
Oh.
around 24 hours. Submitting questions 24 hours in advance of the LSC meeting, and I think the suggestion was to have it be less time. I think we just changed that to say, please submit questions by noon, day of.
Yeah.
That way they've got a chance to get it in, day of.
I mean, we can even say in advance. I literally checked earlier in the day, but then also when I opened my computer when I got here, like, it's really not, we just don't get that many, so I don't even know if we need to put a limit on it. We just say in advance of the meeting, but
I don't know, I
once they
think
do.
it'd be good to at least say maybe by noon.
I mean,
just
that's
to-
fine.
Mhm.
Just
Yeah,
to
that way
otherwise,
folks
somebody like, I submitted it, you didn't read my comment when I
Yeah.
submitted it.
They
Even
have
if somebody,
submitted
you know,
at
does
5:57.
something at like 12:01 and says, pretty please, you know.
Right, we don't have to be like jerks about it, but at least reasonable.
Yeah.
I
mean, we can
just didn't
always-
think the
we can always
24
type it
hours.
anyway, yeah.
So I'll change it to reflect that as well.
Yeah, perfect. Sounds good. Was there any other comments on the bylaws?
Was there any other word people think is better for parent than caregiver or guardian?
I thought parent was fine.
I think
Yeah.
parents fine too. I don't think I've ever complained about
I mean,
that.
you can have like in the description, it's for parents, caregiver.
Yeah.
Right.
It'd be like community, is it too broad?
I feel like that's too
Yeah.
broad because then we're gonna have like everyone in the South End.
Yeah, it's not about community concerns about the school, it's really about, parents with kids in the school.
And
We'll just
caregivers,
say
that's pretty good.
caregivers.
Good. All right, so the next part of the agenda is positive recognition. We haven't really started the school year yet.
Good job, Sam.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
Keep on keeping on.
Good job, Sarah, for presentation.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
so that's-
Yeah.
well done on that. And thank you to Heather for finding a space for our retreat that's coming up.
Yeah, I will
Sarah for
mention, I
checking.
sort of had a brain problem, like we have, we have, like I said, 4 conference rooms, but 2 of them were renovating.
Yeah.
So they'll be, kind of in a state of, I don't know how much space we need, so,
I don't think, I mean,
I think we
literally we
can-
can all sit around the table or, whatever.
yeah, we've got a couple of different spots. I just didn't know, like, what, is this all a bunch of, like, go have little breakouts, or what it is?
I think it's mostly whole,
Ropes course. Yeah,
swinging around the office.
okay, so, yeah,
If you
they'll be
can't
fine.
do it because of the construction, just.
No, no,
let me
no, we-
know, and I'll see if we can do
No, we
something
can,
else.
I don't have, I was saying I had like all these rooms,
Oh,
and
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
well, I actually only have 3, like,
I think that is gonna be fine.
Okay.
And appreciate you hosting us.
yeah, no.
And that just, reminder that is, we have a schedule 9 to noon, and remind us your address,
500 North Dearborn.
I don't know, if Dearborn, it's in the calendar invite too, so.
Yeah, and I'll have my son there to help get.
Shepherd us up.
Yeah, because everything's, locked down.
It's at Valeria.
Yes.
I can't make it though. I'm gonna be dropping off my daughter at college, so.
That's good.
I'm happy to give you a tour of the office.
Sure, yeah. We were actually staying at Marina City the last few weeks,
Oh, nice.
one of Nicole's friends.
Oh, okay.
Les.
She told me about that.
Yeah. That's fun.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Les. Cool.
All right, so that sounds good. And a reminder too, not this is a positive recognition, but talking about the retreat, if you have not sent your pre-work to Jessica, I think student reps are all good to go. It sent me stuff, so I think you guys are
Well, if
great.
you didn't send it, you would have gotten an email from her today. which
Okay.
I did, and so then I.
There you go.
I got
That
it from
reminder's
her
already-
today, but I have not sent it yet. Is it like a fillable Google form or is it not print?
It is, I had to like say,
It's a Word
I had to
document.
duplicate.
Yeah,
it.
it's 3 questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 questions and pick a picture.
Yeah.
It's very fast.
Right, I've already gotten the picture of my head.
I get overwhelmed by attachments sometimes.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, 15, 20 minutes, yeah, it wouldn't take much more time than that. Just gotta knock it out. Let's do new business, there's only a couple items here. We, each year have to make a motion to increase the check and purchase order approval threshold. That way they don't run to us every time there's the $1,500 purchase. We can increase it up to $10,000, so that's what we did last year. That's what I'm going to suggest that we do again this year. Are there any questions about that, concerns? Seem to work pretty well. The budget committee still checking the balance on the spending overall too. So I will make a motion to increase, well, I'll make it formally like I wrote it because they apparently get a little weird about the wording of this. I make a motion that for the 2024-2025 school year, any and all expenditures, including but not limited to purchase orders and checks up to $10,000, do not require LSC approval. Any questions?
And that's pretty standard at all the schools.
I mean, the LSCs that like their administration.
I second it.
All right, all who approve, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes, and we are good for the year with that. We do, at this point, usually turn to public participation. Nobody obviously is here with us, despite pizza being here. It was not enough to entice them. And we did check right before the meeting. There was no emails sent. There was nothing in the public participation sign-up form either. So,
If it's like that the rest of the year.
yeah, smooth sailing, always is. Everybody will be really happy, no issues. Our next meeting is set for September 11th, 2024, the same spot, 6 p.m. So, and if you're interested in joining for the budget committee, that will be on September 9th. Usually we start around 3:15 or so here at the school. It's in back by Principal Dolan's office. So join us if you would like. We will be there having lots of fun with the budget. Are there any other issues that folks would like to raise?
Can I just ask that all these committees that are starting to meet, maybe like tell the whole LSC when your first meeting is so that we can all like drop by if able, and I think that would be amazing.
That's a great idea. So if you, as you're meeting, like, don't just email the people that have expressed interest, email everybody, and then at least as we get started, we'll know where you're gonna be and when you're gonna be, and if people want to drop by, obviously, the more the merrier, I think, for all the groups, so. All right. With
And
that,
do they all have to meet on campus,
They-
like on the building? No, they can meet anywhere.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be in person, preferably, but could be.
I think it sounds like Zoom has been used before.
We did
I
it
was just thinking
virtually,
if,
but
like,
that
the-
was right after COVID,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I was just thinking if it ends up being at night for accessibility or something like that, like,
Yeah.
we don't want to have to pay extra security to keep the
Oh, yeah.
school
There's that.
open
Then
for
you
a
go to
parent meeting
Starbucks
that
or-
could be someplace else, so that's.
Bar Louie.
I don't want to break any rules.
Yeah, they seem to always have lots of space for all those.
Yeah.
All right, well then, with that, I think we are adjourned, so thank you all for coming out tonight.
Can I
Thanks.
ask a question? Do people think we need pizza or do you think pizza's too much? Should we do snacks? Like, I'm very fixated on the food thing. Most people.
We haven't
think
had
we're
food
like,
before.
"Oh,